Good evening. My name is Minister Johnny Banks Sr. I'm the Executive Director of Anaki at Midnight. Anaki at Midnight is located at 400 West 76th Street in the Inglewood community. And it's good to be back on the show. It's good to be in such a beautiful building. If you guys have not seen what Chicago Access Television has done, you absolutely need to come and view this studio, see what they've done, and see what a marvelous opportunity it is for community agencies like Anaki at Midnight to get their message out, to talk about the programs that they are implementing in the community, and to just keep abreast of all the things that is going on. This is a great opportunity, and I would encourage people to take advantage of this opportunity. Like I said a minute ago, it is great to be back on the show. Naturally, a lot of things have occurred since the last time I was on this show. A lot of things are happening in our city, in our county, in this state, and in our world. But there are also a lot of things that are happening with inside of man, inside of the homes, and the hearts of people. And I think that tonight we're just going to talk a little bit about that. And I want anybody who's viewing the show to call in and let's talk about what you're doing to try to change your own conditions, what you're trying to do to increase positive situations in your own life. Because as we go through the ebb and flow of dealing with all of the stuff that's going on in Chicago, as we work through the struggles that man is working through right now, the question will always remain the same. We understand what you may be doing for others, but what are you doing for yourself? Because when an individual changes, that change sparks change across the spectrum. And I think that we need to take a look at that. We need to ask ourselves some hard, some serious questions about what change are we trying to make in our own lives. Again, my name is Minister Banks. I'm with Anaki at Midnight. The call-in number here is 312-738-1060. And if any calls that come in, we're going to take those calls. So if we have a call, let's get the first caller on. Caller, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Good evening. How are you?
My question, I'm fine. And yourself?
I'm doing good.
That's good. My question is, why is there a lack in offering our children services like rehab referrals or residential placement or school picks of their own choice within their own communities without having to go through a lottery? And also, whatever happened to the Scared Straight programs in the police district?
Okay, well, let me try to answer both questions. The first thing, with our educational system, it is evolving. You know, see, there's a difference between something that revolves, which is what we've seen, things that are revolving. And it's, anytime that things revolve, that does not necessarily mean that they're changing. But when you have something that's evolving, the evolution of education, we are behind it. We need to get in front of this evolution so we can take advantage of it. All of the schools should be STEM schools. Where they're dealing with science and technology. We're dealing with a different level of mathematics. We're dealing with a different level of engagement as our children go into this technological society. So as things are evolving, and we find out that when it comes to education, it comes to even how it's set up, if there are no parents involved, then how can the students evolve? And so it goes right back to how do we get involved? And as they're talking about making so many changes, there are so many ideas about what people need to change a system that is burgeoning at the seam with things of old, but there's something that's going on outside of it that we're not connected to. And so as we start dealing with different program and different approaches to education, do we look at parent involvement as the key to change? Well, when you are questioning the credentials of a teacher, when you are asking to see who's teaching this class and you'll see who's doing this, you can't do that outside of the building. And it's not from an antagonistic perspective. It is from a wanting to know, a needing to learn. It is from the perspective of, I want to be involved, so educate me as well. Educate me on the testing that's being done. Educate me on the changes in the curriculum and how do they impact my child's ability to be educated. These are questions that are not getting answered at the lowest and most important level, which is the parental level. So you know, a misinformed parent is a miseducated parent. And so this stuff trickles down from the parent to the child. And we struggle with this. And we all have a myriad of ideas. All have an opinion, but let's get involved. It's the involvement of whether it's education, whether it's dealing with some of the social justice issues that we're dealing with, some of the criminal justice issues that we're dealing with. A lack of involvement of the constituency that votes. A lack of involvement of the people who man the homes in our communities. You know, do we call for the meetings to take place when more people can get to them? Yes, we do. Do we call for decision-making bodies to get together on Saturdays instead of Monday through Friday? Well, yes, we do. Because if you can't get to it, then you have to call for something to change so you have access to the things that are being done to impact the lives of our children. And that's where we at. And real quickly, we'll go to our webpage. If you would go on and acamworks.org and you look at some of the stuff that A Knock at Midnight is doing, we're talking about educating, developing, and encouraging strong leadership among our children, engaging youth and encouraging change. And we're not talking about engaging from the educator's perspective. We're talking about engaging from the parental perspective, to go into the schools, deal with some of the stuff that's going on, and see what's happening with your children. We're talking about being engaged, being involved in what's going on at home and at school. And the time is right to be proactive. The time is right to advocate. The time is right to be involved. And when those things are not going on, we find ourselves struggling. One of the biggest issues that we are having is truancy in the community. There's a big reality when we start dealing with truancy at school. There's truancy in the church. Nobody's in the church. There's truancy in the government. We're not being governed properly. There's truancy in business. You can't get any service. Customer service is gone. In the medical field, when we start dealing with health, the care that we need is few and far in between. Home, and even we're dealing with the educational institution called school. So we still have to go back and re-educate ourselves. And the question is, the opportunities are there, the mechanisms are in place, but nobody is really getting involved, and we need people to get involved. At A Knock at Midnight, we teach institutional development. What is the church? Why is the church? How does it work? We teach the nuances of government. What is a two-party system? How do you get involved? How do you work to govern yourself, to govern your family, and then select proper government that goes along with what you're trying to develop for yourself and for your family? These things are real. You know, and it's on us to think it all the way through, to create business. There's an issue that we are having, that we're struggling with now, that we're dealing with something called sustained economics. How do we get into business, and the business brings forth sustained economics? As we push for year-long jobs for students, as we push for year-long jobs for the young people that's 16 to 24, can we create the mechanism and give support where support needs to be given, whether that's governmental or whether that's private? Can we push for youth to have sustained jobs? And we're not talking about just youth that are struggling. We're not talking about youth that are just having problems, whether it's the criminal justice system, they're dropping out. But what about the young people that are doing the things that they're supposed to do? What about the ones who are achieving in school? What about the ones who are not getting in any trouble, who are not having any infractions on any level? Can we make sure that they have the opportunity to earn as well as the opportunity to learn? So when we start talking about healthcare, the Cook County Jail, it was just in the paper today, and most people know this, it's the largest mental health institution in the country. Can we extrapolate the mental health issues out of the county and put them back into community health and put them into community prevention, where it seemed to work better and we had less people walking around in the community that was struggling with mental health issues. Mental health is not a hush-hush conversation anymore. It's open, it's out in the public, and I think many people are more aware when their family members are struggling with issues of mental health. But we cannot continue to just talk about it. We got to get involved. We got to make that a reality again, and we got to push for the changes that would allow community health and community prevention to become real. When we start dealing with the home and what it's a home producing, how do we deal with it? How do we change it? How do we work with it? All of these issues that we are having, I can sit here and talk about them on and on and on, but that's not what I choose to do. I choose to advocate for change. I choose to advocate not just for something different, not just for something better, but a change that transcends some employment, that transcends lackadaisical quick fixes that we keep seeing, but it goes for sustained economics and sustained opportunities. Because where there's a lack of opportunities, you see people with low self-esteem. So we need to push for opportunities to raise the bar for people so they can feel better about not only themselves, not only about their community, but they feel better about the opportunity that's put in front of them. Having the technology companies that's pouring into Chicago to work with these young people. And I think that is something that we need to push for. I think that all people should be working toward that, and it's something that has to be done. So again, my name is Minister Banks. I'm with the Knock at Midnight. The call-in number is 312-738-1060. See, there's a common theme that's running through a lot of this stuff. What do you do when people are suffering from deprivation? And deprivation generally speaks to any group or culture that has been have had held back or have not had opportunities to those things which are life and self-sustaining. When people have to survive and increase their ability to survive and work on sharpening their survival skills, but they don't have the things in place that would allow them to live and enjoy life as other people do, then those people are suffering from a disease called deprivation. And when you have as many people in the African American and the brown communities who have been deprived not only of their human and civil rights, but they have been deprived of the opportunity to learn and the opportunity to earn because their focus is on surviving. Their focus is not on how do we build and develop things from brick and from mortar. The focus is on eating, clothing, and housing. And if we live in a country that one of the tenets of the country is to provide food, clothing, and shelter, that we can't stop there. We need to provide sustained economics and sustained opportunities to eradicate the reality of being deprived all of your life or having grown up in this deprived environment where you don't see past food, clothing, and shelter. You settle for that. You stop there, and whatever happens after that, it just happens. And so we need to take a look at that. We need to take a look at that. When you start talking about being deprived, spiritual development at church. See, it's one thing to go and hear a good sermon. It's one thing to go and feel good for a minute. But what about when your spirit is not developed and the time that you are spending in a spiritual house, in a spiritual place, you leave spiritless. We have to figure out how do we get people to connect with this spirit, connect with their own development, and continue to work on spiritual nourishment, spiritual development. When you've been deprived of government, when you've been deprived of the things that you need, how do you work with not only understanding government? You can't end deprivation in government if you don't understand what government is. That can be learned, that can be taught. I think we have another caller on the line. Caller, good evening. Caller, are you there?
Yes.
Good evening, how are you?
Good evening. I'm glad to see you back. I'm just listening to what you're saying, and a word that you're saying is so simple, and that is change. Mm-hmm. Everything in life has to change. Everything. I mean, you can't grow a garden unless you change things around. You cannot grow up as a baby to an adult without changing. People that's out here still doing things, it's so easy just to change. Instead of going out the front door, go out the back door sometimes. Instead of walking to that corner, you walk to the other corner. Sometimes, I'm not going to say you go do this overnight. If you're a drinker, you drink gallons every day. Maybe you cut it down to maybe a pint. Sooner or later, eventually, everything change. Even people I see that wear a belt, they don't understand the belt is to pull your pants and hold your pants up.
Absolutely.
Maybe they might change that and pull their pants up and tighten up their belt. But listen, I love your suggestion. Everybody's talking about solution, but just that simple simplicity, change. Listen, I don't want to hog up the show. You're having a good topic.
Well, thank you, sir. I really appreciate you calling, and feel free to call in anytime. And we go back to a wise man once said to me that individuals excel rapidly, but groups excel slowly over a period of time, which is why I'm always focusing on the individual. If the individual can excel rapidly, then how do we break the shackles of believing that we have to pull people along with us when it's easier for me to excel and then bring you in after I've excelled, after I've created or developed the things that I need for myself, then I can also bring you in to show you how to do the same thing. And so we've come to change is going to have to be an individual thing. Inside, shown outside. It's going to have to be an individual thing. Education is a key, but it's not the key. It is a key. It opens a door. It makes things easier for you. But education without common sense is really not education. Education without focus is really not education. You can't give up. If once you achieve an educational goal, you then go and figure out, well, what is the next thing to go along with this, so that you can start to develop what you need to develop. And so at A Knock at Midnight, we do several things to kind of make all of that flow together. We have a program that's called Family Advocacy, and we're one of the 14 family advocacy centers in the state of Illinois. Family advocacy is basically we advocate for the rights of families and the rights of children who have been impacted by the Department of Children and Family Services, who may have an open case or who may have a case that where it has been flagged that maybe they're having some issues or they're having some problems, and so we work in conjunction with the family and we advocate for that family along with the Department of Children and Family Services to bring those families back together, to get those children and their birth parents back together. So we do parenting classes, we do anger management classes, we do domestic violence related classes, we do counseling, group, individual, and family counseling. We do parent cafes, we do support groups, and all of these things come together to get these parents to really understand that one of the major problems you're struggling with is you. Better parent, better child. So we work on helping the parent sustain learning. We work with helping the parent come to a better understanding of what they may lack in their lives, and how do we put those things in place so that they can have a better opportunity or a greater opportunity to raise a healthy, rational, intelligent, functional child. That is what we're doing with our family advocacy centers. We also are doing a lot of work with Chicago Public Schools around truancy. Truancy, if you can't learn if you're not there, but if you're not encouraged to learn. A lot of us, if you can remember in your own life, there was somebody encouraged you. It may have been a teacher. It may have been someone in the community. Well, we are the bridge between the school and the community to bring that level of encouragement, to bring that level of incentive, to bring that level of opportunity to get some of the young people who have fallen by the wayside, those who have had their spirit broken by life, that had their spirit broken about some of the things that's going on in their life. We try to get them back in school, and I think, and I speak for all of the people that knock at midnight, all of the attendance case managers who are doing a wonderful job, that we are having a great impact on attendance. We have another caller. Caller, are you there?
Yeah.
Yes, good evening,
I was
sir.
wondering if you are familiar with any African families, immigrants that come from maybe some war-torn nations. And I've noticed in these families, the children are doing very well in the school system. I work with them, and consistently across the board, they're either straight B's, straight A's. They're getting scholarships, and it seems like we don't have to reinvent the wheel. The Africans coming right now, and they're living in places like Rogers Park and Edgewater, they're doing great, unless, unfortunately, they start to hang out with African American kids. And then, in my opinion, that's when they screw up. But as far as the family, those African families are great, because I can tell by the kids.
Well, when you thirst for knowledge, when you thirst for better, and what I mean by thirst, when you thirst spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically for better, the Americans, African Americans, the ones who are here, we're no longer thirsty. We've lost our drive to hunger for better. We've become sort of like we're looking for to entitlement. So you can't, anything that you don't earn, you don't really appreciate. So people have to be willing to earn what they get. And so a lot of our parents, we want our children to have better things than we had. Now listen to what I said, better things than we had. So we give them things. And when you give people things and they haven't earned, then what you took away was the opportunity to learn. I'm talking about learn how to cook, learn how to clean, learn social graces. The simple things in life, we call them common sense. To walk into a room and speak to people, no matter how you think or how you feel, there's still something called just simple social graces. You know, where you learn how to work, you learn how to engage, you develop character, you develop the things that you need to be the person that you were created to be. We're not thirsty for that anymore. We just thirst after cellular phones and things of that nature. Not being critical, but the reality is, and I thank you, caller, for bringing that up, and thank you for calling in. We need to become thirsty again. We need to thirst for knowledge, and the only thing can quench that thirst is to be around educators, to be in a scholarly academic environment, to be in a spiritual environment where your spirit can be nourished, to be in an environment where you are being governed so you know how to govern. Those are the realities of our life. Those are the things that we are faced with. They are not going to change. Again, my name is Minister Banks. I'm with the Knock at Midnight. The Knock at Midnight is located at 400 West 76th Street. We in Suite 206, 204, 200, 217. We're all over the building. We are grateful. We have after-school programs every day from 3 to 7. So if you're in that community and you're seeing this show and you would like for your children to be involved in some after-school academics, learning robotics, things of that nature, feel free to call us at 773-488-2960. You can ask for Miss Ida Brown. You can ask for John Tay Banks. You can ask for some of the other people who are assisting with the after-school program. It is a great opportunity to have your children come in and learn. You know, it's, as always, this show starts on time and it always ends much too fast. Callers, if you are there, please hold your calls to next week. Please continue to watch the show. Bring your ideas, bring your questions, bring your challenges. Let's continue to try to help each other get better. And always remember that in the darkest hour, truth and knowledge is the way. Thank you for watching, and God bless you.